think when I last counted we're at 6, so we're okay.
Well, I know Katie asked me what time the meeting starts, so I know her intent is to be here. And Hannah Marie too.
She's Katie said she's
We're all set.
There's a sky full of snow above us all aglow, as we sing merrily, merrily, as we sing merrily, merrily. There is music in the air and beauty everywhere, as we laugh cheerily, cheerily all the day, all the day. We will sound our hickory, our hickory, and we'll shout a welcoming call to you all. Let's celebrate and raise our voices high, raise them high. All the towns are jubilant sing, decked out in red and green, as we dance gleefully, gleefully, as we dance gleefully, gleefully. May all your family thrive as the new year does arrive. May we live joyfully, joyfully all the day, all the day. We will sound our hickory, our hickory, and we'll shout a welcoming call to you all. Let's celebrate and raise our voices high. Raise them high, raise them high. There's a sky full of snow above us all aglow, as we sing merrily, as we sing merrily, merrily. There is music in the air and
so much. And that song featured our soloist, senior soloist, Emma Schreier.
Sweet summer bells all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and noble. Ding dong, glad is the song, with triple rain, all heavenly. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how the crowd raising its bell, throwing out its hands, telling the tale. Giving the ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here, ding everybody, that is the song, with triple rain, all heavenly. On we send on without end, their joyful tone to everyone. Hark the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and old. Ding dong, glad is your song, ding triple rain, all everyone. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they now raise the sound, oh, how the days, how there's no giving the ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here, ding everybody, that is the song, ding triple rain, all everything. On they send on without end, their joyful tone to everyone. On they send on without end, their joyful tone to every home. Ding dong, ding dong.
Thank you so very much for having us out tonight, out tonight. I actually just want to introduce the members of the choir as well. So we have Erin and Kim and Emma and Drew and Chad and Robert and Timmy and Connor, and we have Bentley and Logan and Dean and Chelsea and Haley and Melissa. Sorry, I got the order wrong. And they are all members of the CHS Chamber Choir. Just wanted to also note a couple students here as well who made All-State and just had their performances in November. Emma Schreier, missing tonight, Nick Olson and Chelsea von Kosniak all made All-State Treble Choir. Congratulations. Not here tonight. Morgan Coburn, who made the All-State Treble Choir, and they have a performance in February. And then we also have Chelsea von Kosniak, who made the All-Eastern Choir, which is quite an accomplishment. So congratulations. All-South Jersey Choir. If you made the All-South Jersey Choir, please just raise your hand, because I know it's a bunch of us here and a bunch of us at home. So we had 9 from Cinnaminson High School who made it, so congratulations to those 9 as well. Thanks so much for having us out, letting us sing. Hope everybody has a happy holidays.
Yes, and before you all step away, Mr. Bacon, on behalf of the board and the administration, thank you so much for providing the entertainment this evening. To our young people, thank you so much for your commitment to the music program. We mentioned your names in board reports and at meetings. It's great to put faces to many of the names for all of your wonderful accomplishments this season and all of the seasons. Thank you so much. And one last round of applause for all of our students. Double duty tonight.
Someone talented when I hear young kids sing like that. Awesome. I have not an ounce of talent like that either, too. It's just amazing.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'd like to open the meeting at 7:03. Can I have a moment of silence, please? Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call. Mrs. Turner, Mr. Bromhall. Here. Mr. Evans.
Here.
Mr. Gaffney? Mrs. Iacone?
Here.
Mr. Kenny?
Here.
Mrs. Quinn?
Here.
Mrs. Trompe? Ms. Fitzwater here. A statement is hereby made that adequate notice of this meeting was given by submission of said notice to the Burlington County Times, the Courier Post, the Cinnaminson Township Clerk, and the district website on January 6th, 2022. We're moving down to Section 4, Routine Business. We have the Board Secretary's report for October 2022, the Treasurer's report for October 2022, the budget receipts and transfers for October 2022, the monthly transfer report for October 2022, the high school activities report for November 2022, food service management cost performance as of November 2022, certified bill lists, November 10th through November 30th and December 1st through December 7th. The transfer report, December, sorry, we had a bunch of different wrong numbers in there, I believe. Anyway, the monthly transfer report was as of December 7th, 2022. Certified bill list, I just did that one. And the approval of minutes for a regular meeting, November 15th, 2022. Mr. Kenny, can I have a motion to approve Section 4 routine business items A through H?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Iacone?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. All right, moving on to Section 5, routine matters. We have the enrollment report for, as of December 9th, the health report for November of '22, the fire alarm report for November of '22, the crisis drill report for November of '22, the HIP report, and the superintendent's monthly report. Mr. Capello.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Thank you to the members of the public for being here this evening. At the beginning of every board meeting, we traditionally have a moment of silence. And I know this evening I would be remiss if I didn't share that in my thoughts and prayers during the moment of silence was the family, the Harris family, my thoughts with them in their time of need. And on behalf of the Cinnaminson Township School District, Board of Education, teachers, support staff, students, families, and the community, we offer our sincere condolences to the family of 8th grader Maddie Harris. And as we process her loss, we must remember that her life will remain impactful among us as she touched so many members of the community. I'd also like to thank and recognize once again the members from the Cinnaminson High School Choral Performing Arts Department for sharing their musical gift with us this evening. And I promised them I would put a plug in if you enjoyed their performance this evening. Come out next Thursday for the high school musical performance. It is that season. This past Thursday, we enjoyed the Performing Arts Department from the middle school, the strings, the band, the guitars, and the vocalists. This Thursday evening at Cinnaminson High School, we'll get to hear from the Performing Arts Department at Rush. And of course, next week I mentioned is the high school, and also Wednesday and Thursday will be the musical performances from New Albany. I'd like to recognize and thank the members of CHASA who put on another fabulous Winterfest this past weekend in the community. This coming Saturday night is the second modern iteration of the Cinnaminson High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I'd like to recognize those individuals publicly who will be enshrined in the the Cinnaminson High School Athletic Hall of Fame this Saturday night. Jeremy Ash from 2002, Max DeLeo from 2011, Matthew John Feely from 1994, Brianna Gillen from 2003, Judy Petratus from 1971, Matt Poskus from 2007, Jason Visconti, 1998, Sue Seifert Graver from 1968, and coach teacher Jim Robinson and the 1989-1991 girls soccer state championship teams. That's a couple years in there. Some of you may remember back a couple years ago in Cinnaminson, it was actually the fall of 2019, right before the world stepped sideways for a couple years, we had a group of students from Mrs. Arzicki's class in Eleanor Rush School. They embarked on a legislative challenge to have cranberry juice named as the state beverage. It was introduced in both the Assembly and the Senate, and I received a call from Assemblywoman Murphy yesterday that it was once again reintroduced in the Agricultural Committee. So for those of you championing this bill at home, please log on and take a look as we track Bill A2271, which again has been voted on in committee, gaining traction, and we'll stay tuned and keep the board updated if we will officially have cranberry juice named the state juice of New Jersey on behalf of the students who lobbied for it. In a great legislative lesson, they're getting a lesson in sometimes how long it takes to get things done in Trenton and Washington, D.C. And of course, on behalf of the Board of Education and Administration, I wish all of you who are celebrating this time of year a very happy Hanukkah starting this Sunday night, a very Merry Christmas. Kwanzaa is on the 26th, and of course, to everybody, a very happy and healthy New Year. Mrs. Fitzwater?
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Mr. Bromhall, can I have a motion to approve Section 5 routine matters, items A through F?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Iacone?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion approved. Moving to Section 6, the student representative reports. We'll start with the high school student representative, Emma Schreier.
The Golden Apple Award for November was presented to Mrs. Lisa Suharski by Nicole Correa. The November Students of the Month for Class of 2023 are Evelyn Chomitz, Class of 2024, Mason Dranchak, Class of 2025, Madden Rittler, and Class of 2026, Olivia Gola. The winter sports are beginning their seasons. For boys basketball, the captains are Noah Harvey, Sadi Gant, and Joel Blayman. The home opening is December 15th against Pemberton at home. For girls basketball, the captains are Brooke Snedelovich, Katie Embos, and the first game is Thursday, December 15th at Trenton Catholic. For wrestling, the captains are Isaiah Ruiz, Patrick Egan, and Owen Torque. Their first match is Thursday, December 15th against Pemberton. For winter track, the first meet is December 19th, and their schedule gets really busy starting January 4th. Captains have not been selected yet. For swimming, their first meet to begin their 2022 and 2023 season was on Thursday, December 8th against Haddon Heights. For bowling, the captains are Kirsten Howard and Delaney Amandi. Their record is 3-0, and they had a match today against Ewing. For Class of 2025, on December 7th, they held their sophomore cotillion. The Marion was decorated beautifully, and the students came looking their finest. There were several food stations with all kinds of delicious choices. The students danced and sang the night away and made many lasting memories as a class. For NHS, congratulations to the newly inducted members of the National Honor Society. On Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, 22 juniors and 4 seniors were inducted into the NHS chapter of Cinnaminson. Interact students volunteered at the Cinnaminson tree lighting ceremony on December 9th at Wood Park. They also helped with the Winterfest on Friday, December 9th and December 10th, as well as participating in the Breakfast with Santa sponsored by the Cinnaminson Police Department on December 11th. Finally, they are selling candygrams as a fundraiser for scholarships and for funds for their volunteer work. Due to all their hard work in the beginning of the school year, Cinnaminson DECA submitted a student membership of 65 students, 86% more than in 2021-2022, and 20 paid alumni members, the first time since 2020. From that number, 34 students have chosen to represent Cinnaminson DECA in the competition this year. We wish them the best of luck. On the evening of Wednesday, November 16th, 2022, Cinnaminson DECA hosted their second annual Students vs. Staff basketball fundraiser event. The goal this year was to raise a minimum of $1,000 to be donated to NJ DECA's selected charity, Covenant House, New Jersey. 13 Cinnaminson High School students represented grades 9 through 12 battled on the commitment gym court against 10 CHS faculty and staff members in a rivalry match. In a close and very entertaining game, the CHS faculty and staff were victorious and are the 2023 champs. Over 267 people paid the requested $5 donation amount, bringing the total to be donated to the Covenant House of New Jersey to $1,336. Overall, the evening brought camaraderie, exciting game action, and accomplished the goal set by Cinnaminson DECA Officers for Charity. For concert band, we are excited to announce that senior musician Rachel Matson has been accepted into All South Jersey Band on piccolo. Rachel will perform with some of the best student musicians in the region in January at Rowan University. Congratulations, Rachel. The CHS Holiday Concert will take place on Thursday, December 22nd at 7 p.m. in the CHS Auditorium. This performance will feature musicians from the band, choir, and strings departments. We hope you can join us for a musical send-off into winter break. For strings, again, the CHS Winter Concert for band and strings is on December 22nd at 7 p.m. And finally, for concert choir, the CHS choirs have had a busy month and are gearing up for a winter concert. First, congratulations to Emma Schreier, Chelsea Montpozniak, and Nick Olson on their performances with the All-State Choir in Atlantic City and Newark, New Jersey. Additionally, Chelsea Montpozniak was selected to represent Cinnaminson at the All-Eastern Honors Chorus, an ensemble made up of the best students from 11 states and Washington, D.C. She will perform with the All-Eastern Honors Choir in Rochester, New York on April 16, 2023. CHS had 9 students make the All-South Jersey Chorus, with Layla Holba, Kim Mason, and Samantha Bobrin performing in the junior high choir, and Chelsea Montpozniak, Dean Clark, Nick Olson, Emma Schreier, Morgan Hoban, and Melissa DeVone performing with the senior high choir. Additionally, the CHS Chamber Choir performed selections of holiday music at the Sweetwater Community Center and the Lakeview Memorial Tree Lighting, and the Cinnaminson Township Tree Lighting. All CHS music ensembles are excited to share their work at the Winter Concert on December 22nd at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Any questions for Emma? Thank you. And we'll move on to the middle school report from Lucia Schlett.
Good evening to all of you. Our middle school students of the month for November are Benjamin Carroll for 6th grade, 7th grader Callie Karch, and 8th grader Gabriela Pereira. CMS is proud to announce that 6th grade math teacher Miss Laura Curran has been selected as this year's Governor Educator of the Year. CMS hosted its annual winter concert on December 8th at Cinnaminson High School Auditorium. The concert featured performers from guitars, band, chorus, and strings. It was a great performance for our music department. Cinnaminson select singers traveled to historic Smithville Village this past weekend and came out with an exceptional performance. Congratulations are in order for the following students. Annabella Simone, Kyra Mercado, Lucia Shillette, and Ronan Seagrass had successful auditions over the weekend and were accepted into the All-South Jersey Middle School Honors Orchestra. Cole Koprovica was accepted to the All-South Jersey Junior High Chorus, and Jack Stasko earned a spot in the Philadelphia Boys Choir and Choral this season. Winter sports have started. Boys and girls B basketball teams held their first games yesterday. The A teams each had a home game today. Also, wrestling opens up its season today against Pennsauken. The Environmental Awareness Club is still collecting donations for the animal shelter and wildlife refuge. A list of donations was sent out via direct messenger. The last day to donate will be December 20th. The CMS Home and School Association is running a sock fundraiser for our school from December 1st to the 14th. They make a great holiday gift. Cinnaminson Middle School is once again collecting holiday treats for our soldiers overseas. Karen Moreski is coordinating Operation Yellow Ribbon. The drop-off box is located in the main office front entry vestibule. Additionally, Student Council is collecting holiday cards for our troops. Staff members and students can each write these letters. Starting on Monday, students and staff are participating in dress-up days leading up to winter break. There are as follows. Monday the 19th is Merry Mindset Monday. Wear a shirt with a positive message and/or bright accessories, and it's Holiday Trivia Day. Tuesday the 20th is Pajama Day. Feel free to wear cozy pajamas. Wednesday, December 21st is Gift Wrapped. Wear a bow or bow tie. There is no greater present than the gift of your presence at CMS. Thursday the 22nd is Holiday Headwear, the last full day before winter break. Head into it with something fun. Wear your favorite winter hat, antlers, ears, or headband today. And finally, Friday, December 23rd is Ugly Sweater Day. Cruise into winter break with your favorite ugly sweater. Wear your wackiest, tackiest, ugliest holiday sweater. Thank you, and I hope everyone has a wonderful winter break.
Thank you, Lucia. Any comments from the board? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move to Dr. Goldburn, who is going to provide a report on the Spring 22 NJ GPA results and the Fall 2022 Start Strong results.
All right, thank you very much. If you were here back in October, we shared State assessment data from last spring for the NJSLA. Also spoke a bit about some of the college entrance exams and how we did here in Cinnaminson, the SAT, the PSAT. And we have some new information that we will be presenting tonight from last year. One is called the NJGPA, which is the new high school exit exam here in New Jersey, which even though it was given 2 months before the NJSLA, the state did not give us the results until just a little while ago. And the other thing that we'll be talking about is the Start Strong assessment, which a lot of our students took back during the month of September. So the NJGPA, if we were to go back in time, we may remember New Jersey used to have the HSPA, the High School Proficiency Assessment, which was a test that students took in 11th grade and was one of the graduation requirements. The HSPA was phased out about 10 years ago when there was a combination of different PARCC tests that students would have to pass. And it was pointed out by someone that, in New Jersey, you're only supposed to take an exit exam in 11th grade. And it was a 9th and a 10th grade test that students were being expected to pass. So for the past couple of years, the New Jersey Department of Education has been working on a new exit exam, and they rolled it out last spring to juniors, our current seniors, as the new exit test. It is designed to assess 9th and 10th grade mathematics and 10th grade English standards. The test, after it was given, there was a lot of pressure in Trenton, and they declared that last year that test was going to be a pilot. It was not going to actually count as a graduation requirement for the current class of 2023. This spring, this coming March, it is expected to be the first pathway for juniors to get a graduation requirement. For the past couple of years, there's been kind of a menu, as they call it, of tests. So in the event that someone was not successful on their first attempt at the NJGPA, they have established cut scores for the SAT, the ACT, the PSAT, the ASVAB test. There's a whole bunch of other ones that students can meet a cut score at in order to pass that portion of New Jersey's graduation requirements, Across the state, in year one, the passing rate was not where anyone wanted it to be. If you were to go back in time 10 years ago, the passing rate for the English test was in the low 90s, and in the math test, it was probably around 80%. This year, year one of this assessment, 39.4% of juniors across the state of New Jersey passed the assessment, and a hair less than 50% passed the test in mathematics. Here in Cinnaminson, you can see that our ELA scores were a bit higher than I won't even say a bit, are a smidge higher than the state passing rate, and in math, a tiny bit below. We have, if you look at that data, and if you've been to any previous presentations, this outcome kind of contrasts with every other test that we take, in that the English passing rate, whether you're looking at Cinnaminson or you're looking across the state of New Jersey, the passing rate in English is almost always higher than it is in mathematics. So that right off the bat was something that a lot of folks have pointed out. Kind of flies in the face of what we were used to. And coming out of COVID, one of the things that most educators and people noticed was the effects of remote learning for most folks was much more pronounced in mathematics than it was in English. Yet if we go back, the passing rate in mathematics was much higher. So in the wake of this, it was just last Wednesday, the Department of Education had a presentation about these results, and a lot of folks anticipate that there will be changes to what the cut scores would be, what the focus areas of the assessments may be, but no doubt a lot of work to be done to be able to raise these scores back up to what we are typically accustomed to. In New Jersey, across the United States, we have a law called the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, sometimes referred to as No Child Left Behind, now called the Every Student Succeeds Act. And that federal law requires that all schools don't just tell you how the whole group did, but that we drill down into different subgroups of students and report on how those groups of students did. And to report a group of students, there needs to be at least 10 students in that group. So we're talking about males and females, we're talking about students from different ethnic backgrounds, we're talking about students who are having an IEP and those who do not, students who are economically disadvantaged, those who are not. So if we look at that data there, we can see it broken down into groups in which, again, there were at least 10 people in those categories, and look at the passing rates there. And schools, our department supervisors, our teachers, our administrators look at things that we can do to potentially help rectify that. So we start off with males and females there at the top. Then we have different ethnic groups. There are other ethnic groups that we have in Cinnaminson, but again, there has to be at least 10 people to publicly report that data. If there was only, for example, one person in a certain ethnic group, we would not report that because you'd be able to figure out who it was. But we see there the passing rates for Asian, African American, Hispanic, Latino, white, multiracial students. Economically disadvantaged students in the state of New Jersey, if someone is receiving free or reduced lunch, then they are considered economically disadvantaged. We can see the disparity there between students who are and are not. And at the bottom three, we see students who have an IEP, the percentage of those who passed, those who do not, as well as the students who have a 504 plan, and the passing rates that you see there, again, for both ELA and mathematics. So one of the challenges that you have, particularly in year one of any new assessment, is whether it's the NJSLA or the NJGPA or our teachers who proctor the SAT or the PSAT, is you're not allowed to look at the questions. And with most state tests, and you shouldn't look at the questions, but in a lot of cases, if your child was going to take the SAT, there's all kinds of SAT practice tests that you can take. There is no NJGPA practice test. So in year one, it is always a bit of a challenge because we don't know the questions that were asked of the students. But we do get reports from the state that basically let us know for each question, without seeing the question, what standard was assessed, what type of question it was. Was it a multiple choice question? Was it a short essay question? Was it one of those drag and drop types of technology enhanced computer response questions? And it shows us what percentage of our students related to a standard on geometry, how many of them got it right. How many of them got it right here in Cinnaminson, and how many of them got it right across the state of New Jersey. So we can be able to pinpoint which standards our students did well on, and perhaps ones that may need added attention. So we get those reports for both math and English. Again, you can't see the question, but we do know what standard was being assessed. So since getting these results just a little while ago, our department supervisors in our in-service time back in November with our teachers have worked on ways to try to do some reviewing for this leading up to the month of March, in which the students in the class of 2024 will take this test again. Again, these students are taking this test as juniors, and they are being assessed on things they learned in 9th grade Algebra 1 and 10th grade Geometry. And again, in English, it's on the 10th grade standard. So a bit of refresher will go on in the winter months to get students prepared. Mr. Gorman will be sending out some invitations soon, if not already, to some students who may be who would benefit from some additional support. Again, as this is truly a high-stakes assessment. So this is the NJGPA. Again, year one, as we can see, work to be done here in Cinnaminson, work to be done statewide to get those scores back up to what we are accustomed to here in Cinnaminson. All students in grades 4 to 10 and also in grade 12 in one subject matter, took a test back in September called the Start Strong Test. This test was given for the very first time to everybody in New Jersey last year, and it was given because the NJSLA in the spring of 2021 was canceled, and they said, let's have all the students take this test so that we can get some fresh data in the beginning of the year. Students last year took it. I reported on it as well. This past summer, the Commissioner of Education said that all public schools were going to give this assessment again to give teachers, families, schools information on their child's comfort level and ability on previous year standards. This test was given in September, so it was obviously not based on the current year's skills, but on the previous year. So a fifth grader took the ELA and the Math Start Strong test on the previous year's standards. So for students in grades 4 to 10, they took it for ELA and math, and students in grades 6, 9, and 12 took the test for science. The NJSLA is given to students in grades 5, 8, and 11 in science. That test actually assesses 3 years' worth of information. The test was given in a single sitting. It's about 20 to 24 questions at the absolute most, depending on the subject matter. And the students took it, like I said, in a single sitting during the month of September. The NJSLA, if your children have taken that before, ranges from 650 to 850, and there are 5 scoring levels. The Start Strong test ranges from 0 to 20, and there are 3 scoring levels. Strong support needed, some support may be needed, and less support may be needed. The score reports literally came in the mail yesterday for 2 of the schools, and for 1 of the schools, the score reports came today. These will be pushed out to parents through the Genesis Parent Portal at the end of this week or the beginning of next. And again, folks will see 1 of those 3 labels as well as a score for their child for each subject matter. So looking at Rush School here, the 4th and 5th graders took the test in ELA and math. Those bar charts show us the percentage of students in the dark purple was less support, the middle of the road purple was some support, and the very light purple, strong support needed. Our goal is for students to be in those top 2 categories, and we can see in Rush School, in both of the grades, around 75% of the students were in those top 2 scoring levels for ELA and for mathematics. If we were to go by subject and by grade, we can see the information there again. Sizable numbers of students in that top level in grades 4 and 5 in ELA. Again, it almost adds up to 75%. For some support or less support needed in ELA for both 4th and 5th grade, and more or less somewhat similar in mathematics as well. Again, strong support, some support, and less support. The goal, again, is to be in those upper 2 ranges. And again, this is a test that has anywhere from 20 to 24 questions, so there's not nearly as many as you would take in a regular standardized test that students take in the springtime. Moving up to the middle school, so the 6th graders took 3 tests. They took science in addition to ELA and mathematics. So now we have 3 bars there. And the science one typically is always the lowest because the science test is looking at 3 years' worth of information. Right, the students take the NJSLA in 5th grade, and it assesses all the standards that they are supposed to know for grades 3, 4, and 5. So that is definitely one of the most wide-ranging, from a content area, set of skills and knowledge that students need to be able to demonstrate proficiency on. But again, if we have that 75% target, you can see for those top 2 levels that at the middle school, that happened in all 3 of the subject matters that were assessed there. And again, going back to what we talked about with the NJGPA, typically when we look at our state assessment data, the ELA scores outshine the mathematics. So again, you have that oddity with the NJGPA test. So ELA scores for the middle school on the Start Strong test, anywhere from 70 to 75% of the students were in those two upper levels of less support or some support may be needed. Moving ahead to mathematics, a little bit lower in 8th grade, but in 6th and 7th, kind of the same. We have a divergence in math. If you've heard these presentations before, many of our students who aspire to take calculus when they are a senior, get on that honors track, will take Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, and there's an even smaller number who take it as a 7th grader. So we do have about 25% of our 8th grade class takes Algebra 1. So those students took the Algebra 1 Start Strong test. So if you're wondering why there's an extra math class there. And then again, at the bottom, we had 6th graders taking the science assessment, 28% at the lowest level, 42% in the middle, and 30% at the highest level. Again, that's a 3-year look back on skills. And jumping ahead to the high school, 9th and 10th graders took the ELA and the math test. Math may have varied a bit depending on what course they were in. And the 9th graders and the 12th graders took the science test. A little bit below that benchmark that we were hoping for there. We can dive deeply in that right here. Grade 9 and grade 10, you can see the numbers there. Algebra 1, these are 9th graders who took Algebra 8, these are 9th graders who took Math 8 when they were in 8th grade. The Algebra 2 students are sophomores, for the most part, who are in Honors Algebra 2. It's a small number who are in the ACC course. Geometry is a combination of 9th graders who are in Honors Geometry and 10th graders who are in ACC Geometry. And the science assessment, you can see there again, that's a boatload of information. 3 years, the 9th graders were basically assessed on all of their middle school science, and the 12th graders were assessed on science taught in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, and also some things that may be in their 12th grade science class, which is always a bit of a challenge when we look at the science scores at Cinnaminson High School. This is the entire Start Strong assessment. We could go grade by grade, breaking it down by subgroup, and it would be a boatload of data, but again, just like we did with the NJGPA, break it down by gender, by ethnic group, whether or not someone has an IEP, a 504, students who are in our ELL program. We did not talk about that with the NJGPA test because there were less than 10 students, but there were definitely more than 10 students who took the assessment as in grades 4 through 10 and in 12, economically disadvantaged and non-economically disadvantaged. And there are some stark contrasts there. And our teachers, again, our supervisors, our administrators work to try to rectify that. So here are the numbers for ELA. Jumping ahead to math, I'm somewhat skipping through this entire presentation, just like the one from October. Will be on the district webpage soon, so you can always take a look at that as well. But again, here is the data for math. Same exact subgroups again. And again, you see some stark contrasts. And for science, same subgroups as well. What are we going to do with this information? The Start Strong test, which many folks think this was the last year of the Start Strong test. One positive thing about it is they let you see the test questions, the teachers, the administrators, the supervisors. We are able to see question 1, the text, the answer choices, how many kids got it right, how many kids got it wrong. That's helpful for us to be able to, learn from the data when you know exactly what was asked. When we look at those questions, sometimes we're not surprised at why some of the kids didn't do well because some of the ways in which the questions are asked contrast with the way our teachers develop their tests. On the science test, one of the recurring questions is a multiple choice question. And if any of us from our schooling days remember a multiple choice question, you were asked a question and you picked the best answer out of 4. On the Start Strong for Science, there are a lot of questions where it's say pick 3 out of the best 6 answers. And that's something that is typically not seen on the test questions, quiz questions that our teachers use. So in some ways, when we look at these, we're able to kind of get a good sense as to why our students may have struggled with it. But again, we had in-service days back in November. We have another one coming up in February. Our teachers have monthly faculty meetings. Our teachers have monthly departmental meetings in which we spend time looking at this information to see, again, what areas we did well on, which areas we may need added time to circle or change our sequencing so that we get them in time before students take the next round of assessments. So with that, Mrs. Fitzwater, that concludes the report. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have a question. Can I ask now, or do I have to? I have a question. The NJGPA, it's true that they didn't need to pass this or take it for graduation?
That is true, thank you, because I have something to say.
Okay, that's important, I think, because they knew that. So when we look at the scores and we see, that we didn't do as well maybe in the one area as the rest of the state, or the students knew they didn't need that test. And so that's really important when we're looking at standardized tests as far as, 17 and 18-year-olds are concerned, that they knew they didn't need to do well necessarily. And I have a second question as well with that. Excuse me? That was a statement. No, I actually asked the question and he agreed with me. Thank you. And then my second question is, if they didn't, before the law said they didn't need to take it or pass it, they had a second pathway, which was if they had a certain score in their PSAT or SAT. So those students also, is it true that they would have known that they didn't need that?
They subsequently eliminated all testing requirements for the class of 2023.
Okay.
So any student who's set to graduate this June, the graduation requirements are that you take 4 years of English, gym, 3 years of science, math. There is no assessment requirement, but those did go back into effect. I will say the one thing that, and Mr. Gorman would agree with me, that was a bit disappointing is we got these score reports that we pushed out to families from the Department of Education, and I told you there was 3 scoring levels for the Start Strong. There's 5 scoring levels for the NJSLA. For this test, it was graduation ready, not graduation ready. And even though the test was a pilot, it was not going to count, they still sent score reports to people that said not graduation ready. Not to pontificate up here, but, a bit discouraging that it was not a graduation requirement, and still the state put that on the score reports, which I thought was a bit unfortunate, to keep it as benign as I can.
So I'm looking at the scores, and we're new to town, we've only been here for a year. With all due respect, that's a very bad way of looking at it, is that the kids knew, those are horrible scores. They're horrible. I can't even express, I have 3 kids, 2 older, and those are bad scores. I'm more concerned with the middle and elementary schools than anything else, and I have a child in middle school. One of the things that was on there was after school support. Currently, it doesn't exist. So I was told that the board didn't vote those hours in the teachers' contracts to supply before and after school support. Is that something that everyone on this board is considering going forward, that maybe that should be a standard? I know other schools in the state have that as a standard in their contracts. The teachers stay 3 times a week before and after school.
Yeah, thank thank you for your comments, we appreciate it. We do have opportunities for students to stay after school. I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting about exactly what we have in place in terms of hours for extra support for our students, kindergarten through the high school. And actually, over the last couple of years, to meet the needs of our students, we've increased the amount of hours for this. So I'm happy to talk to you about some of the specifics, but we won't get into any conversations about contracts with our teachers and what's made available to individual teachers. And I don't know which information you're bringing here coming as hearsay, but I can talk to you specifically about what we have available for anything that's available for your child or any other child at the middle school. Happy to have that conversation. I don't know that this is the forum to discuss things that are remedial in nature.
Support as one of the action items that you're going to look at. So my question is, how are you going to structure that after before school support? If I know for a fact that in middle school, there's 1 day a week, and it's called a homework club, I think, that the children are able to stay. There's no other options for a child to get extra help because it is not contracted in their contract in the teacher. So when you have it as an action item on the board, I'm going to ask, how are you going to address that?
There is after-school support at the middle school. There is after-school support at New Albany School. There is after-school support at Rush School, and there will soon be after-school support at the high school in English and in mathematics. It meets multiple times a week. It's started probably in the month of November, and it will end in May. It is absolutely occurring.
Any other questions from the board at this time?
Any other questions from the board? Yep.
There'll be an opportunity to speak during open public comment.
I thought we were asking questions about the presentation.
Any other members of the board having questions about the presentation?
No.
Thank you, Dr. Goldberg.
We're moving on to Section 8, correspondence to the board. Anyone have anything to report? All right. Section 9, committee reports. We had one committee meet this month, and that was the Curriculum and Activities Committee. And Mr. Kenny, you're going to report on that?
Thank you. The Curriculum and Student Activities Committee met virtually on November 28th. The committee heard a proposal from the high school administration about granting option 2 credits for students completing firefighter EMS service. Mrs. Melcher, the CMS principal, advocated for the piloting of a GSA club for the remainder of the year. New Albany School Assistant Principal Kalfazadeh requested approval to pilot after-school clubs in spring, such as yoga club, art club, and sports club. And lastly, Mr. Capello updated the committee on an upcoming parent survey related to the school calendar, and the next committee meeting has not yet been scheduled at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Mrs. Quinn, can I have a motion to approve the committee report, Section 9, letter A?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Evans?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Section 10, public comment on items appearing on the agenda. So members of the public are reminded that comments should be limited to items appearing on the meeting's agenda. There'll be another opportunity during the meeting to comment on non-agenda items.
Brittany Relva, Cinnaminson. I guess since I wasn't allowed to ask the question, I'll now make a statement. I think it's pathetic that we just had a board member make excuses. We have educators in this room to say that our kids, oh, they don't care. It wasn't for graduation. Who cares? That is crazy to me. There is after-school assistance at New Albany that my daughter's in, Title I services, that's being funded. They're getting paid to do that. It's not part of their contract. There is after-school help, a homework club. I can pull up my phone and show emails from teachers when I ask for extra help, and they have during homeroom or right before they go to lunch is usually the comment that I get back. So can't wait to see that happen. I opt my kids out of the Start Strong, so those garbage numbers are definitely not my children. I am appalled right now that we can sit here and look at those numbers and just flip the page to the next one. Look at the disproportionate up there. I mean, our black students are 50% need more support. What are we doing here? We talk about certain people can't be identified or represented because there's not 10 more. I mean, my kids are Portuguese. I know I can count 10 at least of Brazilian and Portuguese in their grade, so I'm a little confused on where that number came from. We can do better. Stop making excuses and start doing better.
Thank you, Mr. Elvis. Any other members of the public who'd like to comment on agenda items at this time?
Hi, Eileen Blyson. I just have a question. I know, I think
Can
it
you
was
say your
either...
address for the record, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you say your address for the record?
Sure, Cinnaminson. So last time we were here, I think you gave a report, Mr. Goldblum, and you said in November that the schools during in-services, you would be addressing the low numbers, and I just wanted to know what was the result of those with the teachers, how you were going to address the results, because we have 50% about for each math, English, and for science in certain areas of the kids that were tested that are not reading and writing at grade level. So I know, you did make a comment the last time you were here. I was just wondering what the result was and if you've had any, what you've done to improve the academics in school, to focus on how we're not passing and what you're doing to increase the numbers.
One of the takeaways that the teachers found, particularly at the secondary level, was that a lot of the questions focused on vocabulary, and that was something that teachers were going to circle back towards. And a lot of the test questions, particularly on the English test, require students to read texts, nonfiction texts that are rooted in science and social studies. And a lot of what we do in English class is read literature, fiction, and that they would be working on ways to try to get students exposed to that as well, because a lot of the state standards now don't just focus on literature, but also on those nonfiction texts, and trying to bring those back up to speed as well. No, it's just because the standards, if we're following the standards, we're supposed to be doing both, but trying to make sure that we have that healthy balance of both nonfiction and fiction text. And mathematics, again, every piece of data that we've had coming out of, the pandemic and everything was that the results were always more pronounced in math, and that learning math from home on Google Meet did not translate nearly as well as it did in English. And our teachers, again, are being able to focus on skills and working with kids individually in small groups. That's something you really can't do on Google Meet, which is, what a lot of the previous year's data came out of, and that they're confident that with the groups that they're having down at the elementary school, some after-school help, that they'll be able to right the ship.
Sorry, just to repeat that. So are the parents being informed of the ones who need extra help?
They get a permission slip and all that, days of the week when it's meeting. Yes. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Goble. Any other members of the public who'd like to address the board on agenda items at this time? Mrs. Fitzwater?
Okay, we're moving on to Section 11, Personnel Certificated. Mr. Capello.
Thank you again, Mrs. Fitzwater. Under Section 11, Personnel Certificated, letter A, seeking the board to approve items number 1 and 2 as listed in the agenda. There are no items under B, C, or D. Moving on to Section F, seeking the board to approve items 1 through 8 under letter E in the agenda. Under letter F, leave of absences, there is 1 leave of absence listed in the agenda, seeking the board's approval on. Under letter G, substitute, seeking the board's approval on numbers 1 through 6 as listed in the agenda. Under letter H, tutors, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the 2 individuals listed as tutors in the agenda. Under letter I, student teachers, seeking the board to approve under number 1 the list of student teachers with their respective school listed in the agenda, and there are no mentor teachers on the agenda, so that is personnel certificated. Mrs. Fitzwater.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Ms. Sycombe, can I have a motion to approve Section 11, Personnel Certificated, items A through J?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Evans?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 12, Personnel Non-Certificated. Mr. Capello.
Thank you again, Ms. Fitzwater. Under Section 12A, seeking the board's approval on items 1 through 5 as listed in the agenda. Under leaves of absences B, seeking the board to approve items 1 and 2 that are listed in the agenda. Under letter C, appointments, reappointments, and adjustments, seeking the board to approve items 1 through 4 listed in the agenda. Under letter D, seeking the board to approve item 1 in the agenda. Under letter E, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the transfer that is listed in the agenda. Nothing under letter F. And under letter G, seeking the board to approve items 1 through 4 in the agenda. Mrs. Fitzwater.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Mr. Evans, can I have a motion to approve Section 12, non-certificated, items A through G?
Pardon me? So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Quinn. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Iacone?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 13, Curriculum and Instruction. Mr. Goldberg.
Thank you very much. Under 13, letter A, requesting board approval of the professional development requests that are attached. Under letter B, the field trip requests that are attached. Letter C, there are none this month. Under letter D, numbers 1 and 2. Under letter E, the ESSA amendment. And under letter F, numbers 1 and 2. Request approval of those items, please.
Thank you, Dr. Goldberg. Mr. Kenny, can I have a motion to approve Section 13, Curriculum and Instruction, letters A through F?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Iacone?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 14, Special Education. Mrs. Llewellyn.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Under letter A, contracts, seeking the board to approve an agreement with Burlington County Educational Services Unit for the 22-23 school year. Under letter B, student placements, seeking the board to ratify and affirm a tuition contract agreement for First Children's Services from December 5th, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. There are no consultant agreements. Seeking approval of these items.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Llewellyn. Mr. Bromhall, can I have a motion to approve Special Education, items A through C?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Iacone. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Evans?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 15, we have nothing under policy this month, so we're moving on to Section 16, Business and Finance. Ms. Livingood.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Under Section A, Grants, item number 1A, that the board accepts the revised 22-23 funding statement for services under Chapters 192 and 193 is attached. And item B, that the board accepts the 22-23 wellness grant through the School Health Insurance Fund in the amount of $7,000 is attached. Section B, Finance, item number 1, that the board approves the mileage reimbursement requests for staff members as attached. Section C, Operations, item number 1, that the board approves the standard operating procedures and purchasing manual as attached. Item number 2, that the board approves the following donations with thanks. The first donation is from the Cinnaminson High School Athletic Department to the Cinnaminson High School Student Store, and they donated retired uniforms. And the second item is from the Burlington County Sheriff's Department to the Cinnaminson High School Music Department, and they donated guitars. And the third donation is from the Dahmer family. They donated $412.13 for unpaid lunch balances to our students. Item number 3 is that the board approves the purchase of gas and electric through the Alliance for Competitive Energy Services as per the attached resolutions. Section D, Contracts. Item number 1, that the board approves the tuition contract between Cinnaminson Board of Education and Gloucester Township Public Schools as attached. Item number 2, that the board approves the professional services contracts with Stout and Caldwell for providing professional engineering and surveying services as attached. And item number 3, that the board awards bid number 2223-0003 for custodial services for Cinnaminson Middle School and Cinnaminson High School to ACB Services for the time period of January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater.
Thank you, Ms. Livingood. Mrs. Quinn, can I have a motion to approve Section 16, Business and Finance, items A through D?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Iacone?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion approved. Section 17, other business, we have none. So we're going to Section 18, which is public comment on anything you'd like to discuss. During the public comment section of the meeting, the board will seek public comment on any items. If you wish to speak, you must state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kate Blystein. I live in Cinnaminson. First of all, hi. I just wanted to come out tonight and introduce myself to everyone. I am Kate Blystein. I was recently elected as Cinnaminson's newest school board member. I would like to thank everyone who voted for and supported me. I enjoyed campaigning, knocking door to door, and at my meet and greet, hearing the concerns of Cinnaminson residents. It gave me a real sense of community and what we should be working for. I'm excited to work alongside our school board members for the next 3 years to make Cinnaminson schools a better place for all to thrive and receive a better education. I believe our main focus right now should be on academics and prioritizing a good education so our students will be more successful. Again, I thank you and look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Kate. Congratulations. Welcome.
Hi. I actually have a challenge for each one of you.
If you could please
Sitting
state
on
your
the
name
board.
and
I'm
address
sorry.
for the
Edita
record.
Popovsky, Cinnaminson.
Thank you.
As of a year and a half ago. We moved here from out of state, but my older kids attended school in New Jersey. I have never seen a school, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional, I'm going to get annoyed. I've never seen a school that takes their special needs students and shoves them to the side, as I've seen this district do. And it's continuous. And the only thing I ever hear is, well, why aren't more parents complaining? Do you know what I was told when I said I'm going to voice my opinion? Don't do it. You're not from around here. You're not from this town. You don't have cousins, aunties, uncles that live here. Why? Why is that so in this town? Looking at those scores, that's a shame that our IEP students are that low. And I can tell you why, because I see it in my daughter. I see it every day. Her struggles every single day. When I asked for after-school services, I asked for a reason. Because right now, we're spending about $800 a month out of pocket for private tutors because the school cannot supplement enough. The school's answer is, well, if she's struggling in school, let's put her in self-contained. That's the answer. That's the answer for more kids than you can possibly imagine. So you know what my challenge to you is? Really take a look at that program. Holistically take a look at that program. Not what suits you, not as an excuse because they're IEP kids and they just can't get there. But IEP kids can get there. We just have to think outside the box. She was getting there the whole time when she wasn't here. And she got here and all of a sudden she's not getting it? Something is off. And it's not her. It's the school. She was in 2 other schools, I'm sorry, 3, since she entered some kind of education in the public school system. This is the first school she's continuously struggling in. And I speak to parents every week that have the same issue. Every week. So my challenge is, I went to a seminar. It was the New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education. Do you know they have a seminar twice a year you can attend? They will provide resources for special needs teachers. They will provide so many sources of things where you can get assistive technology that you don't pay for. How many teachers that I see from Cinnaminson there? or administrators? Zero. Not a single person showed up. And it was in Cherry Hill. It's down the street. I went, I took a day off from work, and I sat all day in those workshops. And I shared every single thing I got with Ms. Llewellyn. And it was a lot of great info. So my challenge to you is look at that program, and then look at those scores, and tell me as a parent that you're doing everything you can for those kids. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who'd like to address the board on any other matters at this time?
Hi, everyone. Eileen Blystein. I live in Cinnaminson. I just had a few statements and then a couple questions. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you as the year comes to an end for being currently on the board, all the administrators, all of the teachers. I honestly believe that all of you took this job because you really think what you're doing, that you believe in what you're doing, and you have good intentions. So thank you. Congratulations to all that were elected, Mr. Bromhall and Mrs. Turner, and to my daughter, Kate. I'm so proud of you. Kate, I'm especially proud of you. You had the courage to step up at such a young age to be a voice for students, parents, and all of those who live in our great town. Just a little proof of bias, how biased our media is. In the Cinnaminson Patch, the storyline on November 10th read, "Incumbents keep 2 Cinnaminson board seats, Dems keep commissioner." So, but the headline should have actually read, as the real news story was, a 22-year-old unseats a 2-term incumbent in Cinnaminson Board of Education race. So, Kate, I just want you to know how proud I am of you. And this is proof of what I told you your whole life. Hard work, and determination always pay off. I know that you will be an asset to the Cinnaminson Board of Education. You bring with you diversity, both in thought and in age. So I'm just so proud of you. Congratulations. I just have a few questions. This is just for the board and for everyone, actually, in the schools. Why is there such a big push to sexualize our children in schools? What is the purpose? Why, at every grade level, in every class, are our children being exposed to sexuality? From LGBT pride flags hanging in the middle school and in the high school, to the overtly sexualized books you choose for the summer readings. I left them over there, but they're very explicit, and you guys vote on those. To the teachers in math class asking for children to state their pronouns, and a probability and statistic teacher making a comment, which I overheard on a Zoom class, saying there are an infinite amount of numbers, just as there are an infinite number of genders. Again, I ask you, why the constant reference to sex and sexuality? I'm a firm believer that everyone, every person should be treated equally and with dignity and respect. It is my understanding, Mr. Capella, that when parents brought these concerns to you about the flags hanging in the classrooms, you said you will not ask the teacher to remove them. It shows their support for the LGBT community. So I ask you, back in 2019, why did you call a private resident and ask them to remove a flag for a presidential candidate because residents and parents called you and said it was offensive? Why did you ask that person to remove the flag from their private property? What people do, their actions, their behaviors, their achievements, and their efforts to become successful, especially in their academics, is what schools, administrators, and teachers should be encouraging, promoting, and celebrating, not sexuality. Why reduce students to their sexuality? They are so much more than this. Who determines which children are to be openly supported and celebrated? Who makes that decision? Choosing who to support and celebrate as a school is discriminatory in nature. In the Cinnaminson School District, if you are going to allow a public forum for expression, as you do when you let these teachers have flags hanging up, then you will need to allow all, students included, to be able to hang posters and flags in the hallways and the classrooms that express differing views. It's a public school, that's a public forum. You cannot pick and choose who you support. And I want to say, just closing, after looking at all those grades, maybe if we focus less on sexuality and more on academics, we would have a greater results in our testing, because it's not that that these kids are falling behind because of COVID. You are taking so much time away from academics when you put in your social emotional learning, all of these things that are great and wonderful, but is not the purpose of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Blyson. Any other members?
Yeah, one more.
So Brittany Relvis, Cinnaminson. I commend these ladies coming up here prepared with a speech. You guys know me. I think the president said at an event back in November, "I'm your best customer," I think was the correct phrase that you used. And when I think about it, I'm not your customer. I pay the bills here in the town. I pay taxes. My kids go to your school, so last time I checked, you guys work for me and my children. I called Mr. Capello after going on Twitter and seeing that our little town of Cinnaminson was tweeting. I spoke to him about the Marxism quote in the history class. I think it was respect existence or expect resistance, which I asked if we're grooming Marxism around here. Of course, it was a little joke, but then I go further into the conversation, and I'm just appalled. I was told that there is nothing wrong with, quote, creating a safe space for students, but I thought our whole school was a safe space for students, so I guess I'm just confused. You know, last week, Mrs. Melcher, I have nothing but respect for Mrs. Melcher. She knows I'm here for the good, bad, and the ugly. When I look at those test grades and then I realize that the chorus teacher took my kid and 3 busloads of children without parental permission out of school for 4 periods to go to the high school to practice for a chorus singing, I could probably wonder why we're there. I don't know who's empowering these teachers to just make decisions, but last time I checked, when I dropped my kid off at this school, they don't leave until the bus brings them home safely to my house, or I pick them up. So I think parents need to be more involved in what's going on here. But again, I just question the school administration and the teacher to not even think that she would need parental permission from all these kids. Parents, I mean, call me crazy, but I like to know where my kids are. So when I get a 360 life alert that my kid is now at the high school, I have a problem with that. I also have an issue with the climate surveys that are being distributed to our children without any parental input whatsoever. Mr. Capello did provide to me the district policy regarding surveys. The first statement in that basically says, hold on, I'm going to read it verbatim. Because I have a problem. The only reason why I know about these climate surveys, let me back up, is because I sent an email in the beginning of the year and said, you're not going to administer any surveys to my kids without first letting me check the survey. Thank God I did, because the survey they tried to give my second grader the other day, one of the questions on the survey was, do you wish you could go to a different school? What are we doing here? Seriously. Who asks a child that? And let me follow it up. Let's say they all say yes. Can they go to a different school? Are we allowed to do that? We just move districts? I mean, what are we doing? The middle school climate survey was all about their feelings and if they felt safe. No question about how they feel about the SRO, if the SRO makes them feel safe at the school. We just ask questions about feelings. Again, I only know about this survey because I sent an email asking. I have here a survey from the Mount Laurel School District. They surveyed their parents. Wow, what a epiphany here in Cinnaminson. They actually got their parents involved in how they feel about what's going on. We got to do better. We really do. We have to do better. And like I said, I am totally on board. I think promoting sexuality is crazy to me. I have no problem any child decides to be, or adult decides to be. But I don't think we need to keep shoving it down their throats. And like I said to Mr. Capello, if we're respecting existence, would it be okay to put some anti-abortion stuff around that stuff? Because that would be existence and wasn't taken very well. So I don't think it's part of history from what I said, even though Roe versus Wade just got overturned, so I think it would be relevant. I just don't know what we're doing here, and I think we really need to get it together, and I agree with Edie. I'm new to this town too, so, and if you're not from this town, it's like a little box, like, you know, again, sister, uncle, aunt, I don't really care. I will continue to stand up for my children and everybody else's children. We got to do better.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who'd like to address the board at this time? Seeing none.
Okay. We'll move on to comments from the board. Mr. Evans?
The board would like to thank the Cinnaminson High School Chamber Choir for entertaining us tonight. Thank you to Dr. Goldburn for the presentation on the NJGPA and Start Strong testing. Congratulations to this year's Governor's Educator of the Year for Cinnaminson. From New Albany, Anne-Marie Engel. From Eleanor Rush, Leslie Ostrowski. From Cinnaminson Middle School, Lauren Curran. From Cinnaminson High School, Patrick McNamara. And the ESP of the Year is Brooke Kaffenberg. Thank you for the donations. Thank you, Emma and Lucia, for your reports. Wishing everyone happy holidays. We will see you in the new year. The reorganization meeting for the Cinnaminson Board of Education is Tuesday, January 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the middle school cafetorium. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education is Tuesday, January 17th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the middle school cafetorium. Information may be found on the district website.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Does anyone else have anything they want to add? Okay. All right. Since not, we do not have an executive session tonight. So, Mr. Kenny, can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.